you're kind of forging this new person in the fire in a way. And the person who started the process was nowhere near ready, I think, both physically and emotionally to kind of embody this larger than life hero. And so I loved the process of kind of suffering, for the role. Really, it kind of built character.
Skeletor took my family and he destroyed our world.
I have the power!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fandango Big Ticket interview for Masters of the Universe. My name is Mark Ellis, and I've been waiting since I was 5 years old to say that intro right there. I am joined by the stars of the film. That is Nicholas Galitzine, and we have Camila Mendes and director Travis Knight hanging out with us. So Travis and I are on the ends. We're like the 80s kids that grew up with He-Man, and then the 90s kids. You guys got ingratiated a little bit later to it. Was it, Nicholas and Camila, was it something that y'all discovered on your own, this lore of Masters of the Universe, or was it a family member? Was it a relative? Somebody introduced you to this world?
I mean, I always say, I feel like kind of my whole life, just through the internet, Masters has such a sort of a presence. You know, it's constantly sort of clipped and used in memes and comments and everything like that. And so that was actually my first reference. And the humor around that is actually quite fitting, I think, for the story that we were telling, because the script that I first read was incredibly funny as well as incredibly moving and everything. But after, talking with Travis, I kind of consumed as much as I could all things Masters, and then I very much became a fan of myself.
How about you, Camila? Are you a huge fan of Masters of the Universe now?
I am similar to Nick, where I pretty much knew it peripherally through the viral YouTube video, What's Up by the Four Non-Blondes. Mm-hmm. That was my knowledge of Masters of the Universe. But then obviously when I booked the role, my whole family in Brazil, they're huge fans of Masters of the Universe. And Mattel sent us a huge box with books and comics and toys for us to really dive into the world.
What I wouldn't give for that when I was a kid to get that in the mail. Travis, Nicholas mentions the comedy as well as just this awesome action, bombastic kind of thing. I mean, my colleague Eric Davis referenced watching this movie. It's like a live action Queen song has come to life, and you just have all those elements, What was it like for you as a director trying to balance all that stuff for folks like you and me who were fans as kids and also introducing it to a new generation?
Well, I think the thing for me was that it was important for us to capture the spirit of what it was like to watch Masters for the first time when it was born in the 80s. And for me, it was like a fever dream. It was so weird. It was, barbarians and, robots with laser guns and spaceships and guys with axes and stuff. It was a crazy combination of flavors. But there was always one thing that was critical about it, which is that it had a lighthearted, playful vibe to it. It was retina burning. The designs were insane. It had lots of action, but it was a lot of fun. And I think as we started to think about how we can dramatize this story and these characters and bring it to the modern era, that was something we didn't want to lose, to make sure that it had a playfulness, that it had a sense of lightheartedness. And there is something inherently silly about Masters of the Universe, and we wanted to hold on to that while still telling a story that has meaning, that has depth, and has a lot of great action. So it was just trying to find a balance of those tones.
So I love Bumblebee. Is there something that you learned about making a movie like this while you were doing Bumblebee that you're like, oh, that's something I can take with me if I adapt another property similar to something like Transformers?
Well, I don't think I was thinking I'm going to adapt another iconic 80s toy property, but Bumblebee was the first live action film that I had ever done. I'd worked in animation my entire career. And so there was something that I found really interesting about the process. So there's a lot of analogs between those things, but there's something unique to each. And the exciting thing for me is to be able to apply those different skills to each new project that I come on. So I definitely learned a lot on Bumblebee and, applied that to my next animated film, and then took that and applied it to this film. And there was stuff I'd never done before on this movie. And so there's always a thing where you take all these experiences that you have, and then you have to be ready for the new challenges that are in front of you that you couldn't anticipate. And we had a lot on this movie.
Let's talk about getting ready for challenges with Camila and Nick, because before I ask you about playing these characters, Tila, you got He-Man, but you got to get in the gym for this. We got to get ready to play these iconic characters that kids know. What was that training like for both of y'all?
Me,
okay.
You have the real challenge, buddy.
No. Look, it was daunting. It was, truthfully, I think one of the hardest things I've ever done. And there was moments where, I would be fasted for 18 hours and doing a 3 hours weight session while fasted, and then going and doing stunts right afterwards. And it would test your resolve. I was so grateful for the opportunity and just fully believed in the thing that Travis was trying to make. And I think we really connected when we first met. And I think I had a really mutual understanding of how to bring this to life. And so it was months and months and months. And it's great because you're kind of forging this new person in the fire in a way. And because the person who started the process was nowhere near ready, I think, both physically and emotionally, to kind of embody this larger than life hero. And so I loved the process of kind of suffering, for the role. Really, it kind of built character, I think, in a real way. And then you show up there on day one, you feel, I'm ready for this. I've got this. So that was my experience.
Yeah, we started in 2024, and we started filming in...
Even before that, wasn't it?
Probably for you.
Well, yeah.
For me, it was September 2024, and then we started filming in February, March of 2025. So it was months of training, and Nick and I really bonded during our experience. We were in training for 2 months in London together, and it kind of formed this camaraderie, and we were learning so much about our bodies and nutrition and how to do it all the healthy way, I think, which was important to both of us.
So what's the dynamic like between your characters? Can you tell everybody? Like, is it sort of like they've always had like a will they, won't they kind of situation? Dare I say, maybe you're a little friend zoned by her in the movie?
100%, yeah. Yeah, Adam's very up for it and Tila's kind of suspicious. Adam had a really hard time connecting with anyone, I think, as a kid. His best friend is a literal talking tiger, so we can kind of draw the obvious conclusions.
A little bit of a fish out of water being on Earth.
Yeah, but Tila's always someone who kind of sees him for who he is and embraces him. And I think, when they reunite, she's obviously changed a lot. So is he. They're sort of stuck in this kind of funny dance, I think, at first, where they're trying to figure each other out.
Also, Tila's been in survival mode for years, trying to restore Eternia to its original glory. And so I think in her mind, it's like, I don't have time for love right now. I gotta help save the world, and you need to transform into He-Man so you can save us all.
It's true.
Yeah, this guy's been stuck in a cubicle for the last 10 years. You have been really carrying the load.
Well, you've been in HR.
I think that it's, probably stuck in the cubicle for 15, 20 years is akin to...
Which is its own battle.
It's its own battle, right, Travis? Yeah.
That's my next question. Is it getting those TPS reports in on time or saving an entire universe? Which is tougher?
They're both equal.
He doesn't get the reference, but I do.
Office Space kids.
Just smiling now, boys.
Smile and wave.
Well, Travis, as a guy who grew up fearing and kind of enjoying what Skeletor is, can you talk about Jared Leto playing that role and how y'all kind of came up with how that character is going to pay homage to the classic Skeletor we know, but also add a little something fresh?
Skeletor was always, for me, like one of the most iconic villains of the 80s. Most villains of that era, they were, they looked cool, or they were scary, or they were funny, or they were interesting. And Skeletor was all of those things combined. He looked amazing with that skull face and the jacked blue body. But there was something about him there was a vulnerability there. He was always insecure. And so much of what he did felt like it was rooted in that to me. When I started working with Jared, we talked about how we could create a character that felt like it was paying tribute to what had come before, but also find our own new version of that. And so it wasn't an instance where we were going to try to do an impression or an impersonation of the Alan Oppenheimer voice. We needed to find our own version of that. And the voice specifically was something that Jared worked on for a long time. And I'm very happy with where we landed because he does have this kind of ferocious menace. He's a formidable character, but also he's funny and he's entertaining as hell to watch, and he's awful too. And so it's all of these things combined. There's a theatricality to Jared's performance, which I think is completely suiting for Skeletor as someone who is always looking for attention, and when he doesn't get it, people feel the effect of that. But in the end, I think we've crafted something that does feel like it's paying tribute to Skeletor, but it's a new cinematic version of it.
And y'all were kind enough to treat me to 20 minutes of footage from the movie, and I'm seeing all these characters I remember playing with their toys and stuff. So, brainbuster question for each one of you. You're not allowed to pick your own characters. Who is your favorite character and Master of the Universe? Besides, obviously...
All right, you guys go first.
Always passing on the buck, all right? How about you, Camila?
It's like a tie between Evelyn and Cringer. No, not Cringer. Battle Cat.
Battle Cat, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, how about you, Travis?
Oh, well, it's going to seem like a cop-out. It's He-Man, of course.
That's fair.
I did not play a role in the film, so I can pick any of them.
That's true. That's a good point.
And in fact, I did pick all of them. But He-Man, of course, is my favorite. And like, that was my introduction to that world. And I fell in love with that thing for the first wave in 1982. Very, very old. And so old. And so that was it. I mean, it's all about He-Man. It was He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. That was my introduction to it. And that's the character that I fell in love with.
That's really cute. Mine was Pig Boy.
There you go.
I see myself in Pig Boy. You know, I think there is a likeness there, both in physicality and just disposition.
Personality.
It's written right here on the card. Pig Boy's the correct answer. Travis, is there a character that you wanted to put in here? Like if hopefully the movie's going to come out and do great and tickets are on sale, Fandango. If you get to make more of these, is there a character that you're like, couldn't quite shoehorn them into this one, but can't wait to put them in a future adventure?
Well, I mean, you always approach these things as if you only get one shot at them. And so I wanted to make sure that the movie's standing on its own feet, that it paid tribute to all the great stuff that fans love, and it does. That it was a movie that people who didn't have any knowledge or understanding of Masters could really enjoy, and it does that as well. I think we struck the balance there quite nicely. But I also, as a fan, I wanted to stuff it to the gills with as much stuff that I loved, that I wanted to see, and I did. There was definitely things that that didn't make the cut. Things I wish we could have put in there. There's so many characters that I would love to see if we're so lucky to do more of these stories.
So Prince Adam's kind of the one that comes up with all like the nicknames and stuff. Do you have nicknames for each other on set? Did you guys come up with that? Is anybody that you refer to as their nickname? It looks like, I'm not sure if we can even put it on camera, but I'm definitely sensing I'm warm.
Supreme Leader, old sage, stuff like that. No, I'm just making these up. We have the utmost respect for Travis.
Nothing but respect.
And we all have so much respect.
Only Travis.
So much going. I can't remember, actually. I mean, did we? I feel like...
I called you Nick.
Yeah, kind of boring.
Called me Cammy.
I called you Cammy. It's Travis.
This is probably the closest I'm ever going to get to being like in He-Man and T-Was like Posse.
Right.
So what would my nickname be? As long as you don't say
we got to
Nick Boyle,
incorporate
I'll be happy.
Fandango in there.
Yeah?
Fan man.
Fan man.
Fan! Oh my God, we came up with magic.
Wow.
That's kind of how the Masters of the Universe kind of works.
Yes.
It's like, if there's something
man.
immediately discernible about you plus man, you're good.
That's all you need when it's Masters of the
Dango
Universe.
dude.
Final question, Travis, feel free to jump in here if you want, but I mean, look, these kids, they train so hard to look badass and just on screen, magical, mystical. What is the cheat meal for He-Man and Teela? Like, y'all finish with your training and you finally get to eat whatever the heck you want. What's your cheat meal?
I had a cheeseburger and fries on, like, as soon as they said that's a wrap.
Yeah,
There's a photo of it.
Yeah.
It's waiting for you when you...
Oh yeah. There was the good burger van we had.
There was a burger truck that day.
Yeah. I mean, I might be the same, or maybe just like a lot of sushi, just as much sushi as I can stomach.
Okay.
We did have a fun moment on set while we were shooting where Nick went through this process where he had to bulk up, and then he had to go through a process of getting shredded. So he was hungry all the time, and so we have this dinner scene at a restaurant. And you don't eat that food. You don't actually eat that food. It's just sitting there for hours. You do not want to touch that stuff. You're going to get salmonella eating that stuff. Nick was so hungry, he couldn't help himself. At one point, he grabs one of these disgusting, wheezing, cold French fries and just starts eating it. And it's in the movie, actually.
Yeah. I said, please, can I have one?
Just one.
I've been trying so hard.
Crusty,
Let me have
nasty
one
cold
for
fry.
the whole production. Which
Well,
is
after
really
seeing a little bit of the movie, I can say you've earned all the fries, all the burgers, and all the accolades. I'm so excited for this movie to come out. This has been the big ticket interview for Masters of the Universe. You can get all your big ticket interviews in podcast form now wherever you get your podcasts. For the crew here, I'm Fan Man. Thanks for tuning in to the big ticket interview. We'll see you next time.